Hey Jennifer, how's it going?
Just fine. How are you?
Doing all right. How was Cedar Point
It
yesterday? Was that yesterday?
Yes, it was
Oh my gosh.
exhausting. 49 kids between the ages of 11 and 17 or so, um, and six adults.
Wow.
But yeah, that was fun.
Did you spend the time like as a group of adults going around, or was it like
Um,
intermixed with the kids, or how'd that go?
Most of the teenagers kind of went off by themselves. My husband and I were there, and like we kind of hung out with like a core group of like me and my husband, and then this other set of friends that we have, and their boys are friends with my two younger boys, and then all of their friends. So like we actually had like a group of like 20 people walking around. We had nearly half the
Half of the
group
bus.
was just
Yeah.
all in one big group. So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, exhausting and learning my limits as a roller coaster rider and
Um,
going into her 50s.
and what did you learn about those limits, Jennifer?
So my limits are if the roller coaster was made when I was a teenager, I probably should not be going on it. Well, that's not entirely true because I did ride the Raptor when I was a teenager, and that was
Raptor.
fabulous. And I rode
Yeah.
that one. That was the first one we went on. Fabulous. The ones that like hang, smoother ride. Give me a smooth ride. I don't care what you do to me. Flip me, twist me, whatever. Just make it smooth. That's all I ask.
Did you go on any of the ones like that huge boat that like rocks or whatever? Any of that stuff?
No, they
Okay.
did have one of those. But also it was really busy and we didn't
Yeah.
pay for the fast pass. So we waited
Uh-huh.
in a
You
lot
had
of
to make
lines. So
some
we didn't get as,
choices. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, and we had I had an experience like one part gross, one part awesome, where I wore my Birkenstocks to the park, and you have to take those kind of shoes off if you're going to ride
Oh.
those hanging
Oh, the
rides,
hang
which is the
ones. Yeah.
majority of rides we rode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to take my shoes off and walk on those nasty floors to get into the ride. But then the benefit was it is so amazing. And people think I'm silly, but I was telling all the kids this, and they're like, oh, I'm going to take my shoes off too and store my shoes, but they won't let you because they're tennis shoes. It's only
Right.
if you have to take shoes off. But it's so awesome to feel that wind in your hair and the wind on your feet, and just like it's like you're just flying. It's awesome. I
Flying,
love it.
actually flying. Oh, that's cool. I asked about the boat thing because I feel like as I get older, just like the act of like swinging is looks like more and more I just feel sick to my stomach. Like even if I get on a set of swings in a playground and start
Uh-huh.
swinging, I just can't like I'm not like afraid of roller coasters. It's just some of the motions of them in
Yeah.
my old age, I guess, or my aging body are just not they're just not good. So
And I'm afraid that's going to happen to me, but so far I do not get motion sickness. It's just the like throwing my body around inside of a metal cage, doesn't work for me anymore.
I'm thinking about um like you like roller coasters and amusement parks as a metaphor, right? For like this like resistance and organizing work that we're
Oh
doing.
yeah.
And something that we talk about a lot is like just how like mentally just exhausting it can be and how it can just take away like there's literally no second of the day that couldn't be spent like waking or sleeping on doing organizing and the resistance space. And oh, I remember you were talking the other day about how like the thing you're mad the most about with when Trump won last November is the fact that like now still have to like carry
Yeah.
this mantle, continue this work, whereas the election results had been the opposite, then maybe you would get just a minute break, right? Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I totally resonate with that. Like you were looking forward to like putting it all in the field come November, big wins, and then taking a
Hmm.
breath, and we just had to go like right into,
Yeah.
everything still, but even more amped up than ever.
Oh, for sure. And I've heard people say this before in different spaces, but it's something I think about. Like, think about the art that is not being made, and
Ah,
the films, the books, the paintings, the whatever. Think about the things we're losing just because this man is who he is and generates the movement that he does, that we have to fight against. Like, there's so much I know I could be doing instead of this, but I've got to do this because, like, part of it is like, who else is going to do it? And sure, somebody else might, but I don't know. Everybody should do their part. So that's kind of where I'm at.
It's like the opportunity cost, right?
Yeah.
Like what could be. Yeah. And how are you making those decisions, right? About how much time and effort you can continue to devote to this work versus like what you need to just let go of. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how do you think about that?
I don't know.
From my seat, I feel like you don't make those decisions. You just do all of
I
the
just do it.
things.
Yeah. But it's like, because some of it like eats at me. Like, I needed to call somebody about being a speaker for our next protest, and I needed to call on the parking. And that's one thing, we talked about, we'll talk about this a little bit, but I ended up putting together kind of a I don't, manifesto seems like the wrong word, but like a post in a private group of people that we were having a discussion with. It's a large group, but regardless, just because we were getting a lot of criticism for something, and kind of putting together this post of like, fine, let us know what you need that you think should be different, but when we finally say this is what we're doing, here's why that's why. And like, we just talked, I talked in that post about like all the work that goes into a protest, a big one.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I was sitting here like, okay, I literally have 4 loads of laundry right over here that need to be folded, and my kids come in every day and dig through the laundry to find something to wear because I haven't had time to fold the laundry.
Right. I know. I appreciated that post so much because, and it's hard to balance like, okay, being open to feedback, right? Like, and
Yep,
ideas, that's important.
for
But
sure.
then also being like, we have to move forward with the ideas that have been kind of determined, and that, maybe not everybody is ever aligned with every single thing. But man, if you're not involved in the planning and then you just respond when you hear like what the end result
Mm-hmm.
of the planning is to the folks who are sort of like killing themselves every day to get this
Yeah.
stuff off the ground on a volunteer basis, that's really hard. It's really hard to take, especially when that feedback comes with like harsh language.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that
We are
is
human
just,
too.
yeah,
Just so everybody
exactly.
knows, we're just people.
And it's hard, like, like you want the feedback, but also like let's also like be okay with decisions that are not perfectly aligned with the way that
Yeah.
you've done them.
Mm-hmm.
Give the feedback in appropriate time and ways, just out of a sense of care for the folks who are trying to do all of this work.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be super frustrating when that doesn't happen. Um, because that's not like the work stops or slows down. We're still doing that work, and
Mm-hmm.
the
And we've
voices
spent a
are
lot of
coming.
time listening to, responding to, dealing with um, this discussion that we were having about some things we planned for our protest. We could have been planning the protest. Like the
Absolutely.
amount of time that we had dedicated to dealing with everybody's feelings. And so we had to do all that and then also still plan this whole protest.
Or the next protest or the next action,
Yeah.
right? Anyhow, it's been rough, and I think that the what we were talking about was really kind of like rooted in, help me sort of describe this. It was rooted in the kind of the sort of base like debate that's going on in the Democratic Party, which has to do with like, in response to Trump winning in the last election results, should the Democratic Party like run to the center or run to the left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, well, when I've heard that kind of debate pop up, I've heard things like, well, the Democratic Party should stop talking so much about trans issues, or the Democratic Party, should spend more time focusing on kitchen table stuff. And in fact, that was what ignited this debate was
Yes.
our decision as a leadership team to involve drag queens in our next protest,
Mhm.
to play the role of MC. For one reason because it is Pride Month, and another reason because centering those folks who are impacted the most almost by some of these actions from our federal government, felt really important, and there was tension right in those spaces around that issue. And I know that you, more than I, spend a lot of time in podcasts and in reading a lot of articles, and so I guess can you talk a little bit about your experience with this debate conflict that's going on in the Democratic Party about, do we run to the left, do we run to the center?
For sure. And it's like this constant debate whether, if you've got moderate politicians say we need to run to the center, and we've got progressive politicians saying we need to run to the left. And and I actually listened to one of the podcasts. I listened to our former Republican anti-Trumpers, and then another one I listened to our former Obama staff. So I'm getting the whole spectrum of it. And then that's the Never Trumpers are like, you need to be more moderate, and the Obama people are a little more like, let's see what we need to do. They're not really saying what we need to do, but they're talking to a lot of different people and kind of letting it get out there. But I'm a progressive, and I'm not changing that. I refuse. I am not changing who I am to attract voters in any way, shape, or form. Now, what I think needs to be done is, if you are a moderate Democrat, continue to be a moderate Democrat. Be who you are. Be authentic. Why do we need to have this debate in the first place? Mm-hmm. Why are we discussing whether we should change who we are as a party? Who we are as a party is not the problem. What we need to do is make sure we're getting to people about who we are as a party. And the reason that people think that the Democrats talk too much about trans people is because the right amplified that.
Yes.
It's not that we actually did. It's just the amplification on the right.
Yeah, absolutely. And right. So it's a false choice too, right? It's not like we have to choose to be either kitchen table centered in the center, or care about LGBTQ rights, but we can't do both. We can't possibly do both. And that's just that's a false choice. And it's also like as where I sit, right, as a progressive individual, in the Democratic Party, I want to talk about kitchen table issues, and I want to talk about trans rights. And I'm sort of pissed when I get this idea that I have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And also, it's all intersectional. It's not like kitchen table issues don't impact trans people. Of course they do. Of course they do.
And they affect trans people more if you're looking at statistics than your average person. The trans person is more likely to have difficulty getting health insurance, difficulty getting health care, difficulty getting a job, maintaining, there's all sorts of things that trans people, LGBTQIA plus people, Black people, whatever, pick your minority, they're dealing with those issues too. So if we're pretending like we just need to talk about this from what they're saying is we need to talk about it from a white person's kitchen table.
Absolutely.
A straight, het, cisgender white person's kitchen table. And that needs to stop. That is just ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the code, right? That's going on right now. Don't mention, trans rights. Let's talk about living wage or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I'm not saying that the people that we had discussions with about whether it was the right choice or not to include drag queens are saying this. That's sort of the overarching discussion. I do know that the concerns about drag queens in our event were rooted in this idea that we need to appeal to the center.
That's right.
So that's specifically, what these particular people and the people that we're talking about, I feel like I hate doing it that way, but these are people we love and care about. So we talk to them almost every day or every other day, whatever. They're people that are part of our lives, and we have a disagreement. So, you know, it's not, we're not saying anything that about them in particular, just the sort of
Absolutely. And
overarching
yeah.
idea.
And my point is like this disagreement is not unique in this group of
Yeah.
humans on the Democratic side. Like this
Mhm.
disagreement about run to the center or run to the left or whatever is happening everywhere. And
Yeah.
my whole opinion about it is it's a false choice, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I just always think about when I hear this idea of like Democrats should stop talking about trans rights, I personally cannot. And the reason I cannot is because I lived through, just like you did, just like everyone else in Michigan and probably every other swing state, an election cycle that targeted trans individuals in
Mm-hmm.
disgusting ways
Yeah.
every single day. And I constantly have in the back of my head that, you know, that student in middle school who is just grappling with their own identity and literally seeing, I'm just getting so angry thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
literally seeing commercials during the election season that like vilified them just for existing. And that doesn't mean that like I want like commercials to the sort of opposite side, but I'm sure as hell not gonna put my torch down and just be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm not gonna talk about trans issues because I feel like the best solution for the Democratic Party is to run to the middle. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is so just the antithesis of who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when we have an event and we want to bring in, and have drag queens be part of that event, because why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be put on stage and be the MC, just as human beings in the world versus somebody else being the MC and being put
Mm-hmm.
on stage? Like
Yeah.
it is squarely within my values, and I hope the values of the Democratic Party, to be centering everybody, and in particular those people who have received the most harm. And so like that's where this debate comes from for me, is like that sort of sense of like it is this false choice has to go, right? We have to
Yeah.
be able to stand on our values, on like whether they be central values or more center values or more progressive values, or else I'm out. I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore because it's
Nope.
insincere to
You know,
be that way.
and that's one thing that I really think that people are not understanding, because they think of themselves as progressive or liberals or Democrats or whatever their label is. And especially if you've been in the party a long time, and like they're thinking, we can count on our Black voters. We can, and that's what somebody said. They know the LGBTQIA plus community knows that we support them. Someone sent me that email, and I responded back, no, they don't.
Yeah.
They do not. They're feeling very abandoned right now. And just this idea that we have to change who we are. Like someone talked about the Overton window has switched more to the right. And I will agree with that. I will agree with that.
Yep.
But we can't battle that by moving ourselves to that Overton window.
Absolutely.
We have to work to move the Overton window in the direction that we want it to go. And just like this idea of like being moderate, like, no, we need moderates, we need progressives, we need the LGBTQIA, we need Black people, we need white people, we need straight people, we need gay people, like we need everybody, and we need us all supporting it. So like if we have a protest and it has drag queens and you're not like super on board with that, just come support us anyway. Yeah. And if you want to do a protest that focuses Medicaid and Medicare because that's the issue you care about, have it, and we will come and we'll bring drag queens with us. You know, like it doesn't have to be this or that. We all have to support each other, because there's no way that we can defeat fascism if we're like, you like I'm not going to tell people that are not particularly into supporting LGBTQIA plus rights that they have to then start supporting them. I mean, I want them to, but I will welcome them to this work against fascism, no matter what their core beliefs are. And I would hope that they could also accept me with my further left-leaning ideas, that we could all work together. And when we get rid of fascism, then we can decide to fight over all the other issues. Like, just, yeah, I'm just so frustrated with the whole thing.
It's very frustrating. And like, It's very frustrating in general. And again, it's not just us in this little Midland town. And I think part of the reason it's important to talk about this in terms of like our podcast and the book that we're writing is because, what we're trying to do is help other communities build blue power, and knowing that like you've got to be able to manage through conflict. You got to be able to
Mhm.
like, figure out what your values are, and maybe like not be everybody's favorite person all the time, and kind of
Mhm.
have really thick skin about that is really important, because it's true that, yes, we have two parties, but there's not like in each party, there's not like full agreement on
Yeah.
each issue,
Yeah.
and like managing through that, understanding it is really important.
And one thing I will say is, I've heard a lot of Democrats be like, we need to be like the Republicans. The Republicans all get behind the Trump and do whatever he says and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, first of all, we're not a cult. So I'm not sure that's going to work for us. But the thing is like when I hear people say that, what they mean is all of you need to get
Behind
behind what
me.
I think, and
Exactly.
then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not true, for one. It's
Yeah.
not going to work. And I don't even think, I have my own very personal beliefs about all of these issues. I don't think everybody has to have the same ones that I do. That's not how the world works.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Like I do have certain limits though, right? So like
Oh yeah.
there's a big tent, and I get it if like your main issue is not LGBTQ like support.
Yeah.
But if you're like anti-LGBTQ rights,
Hmm.
then I'm
Actively,
actively,
yeah,
and
that's a hard line.
I'm, yeah. So like
Yeah.
anytime your political beliefs are infringing on somebody else's like
Hmm.
right to exist and be happy, then you're not invited in my tent.
Yeah.
Like you,
Like we
so
could even go
yeah,
to abortion. Like I've talked to people who are like, morally I think abortion is wrong, but I think it should be made available to people and it's not my choice. I can live with that.
I can
You
too.
know what? That
Yeah,
we can see eye to eye enough that we
yeah,
can work together. It's
yeah.
when, no, you're going to hell and we need to stop all abortions no matter what, and who cares if the woman dies? Like, yeah, we're not going to be
It's
able to
gonna
work
be a hard line there. I know. Um, I know. And it is challenging. I mean, this is like there's the nuts and bolts side of organizing. There's the like who are you gonna call, and having, safety patrol folks at protests and doing this kind of training, and making sure like you understand kind of the rules of fundraising and all of those things. And there's this, the like more nuanced side of organizing, which is where all the
Mhm.
humans sit and all their thoughts and opinions, and managing through all of that, and being able to be, um, you know, like not always be everyone's favorite person.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging, especially when you're exhausted, like
Yeah.
especially when you feel like you're putting it all out there. Um,
Yeah.
it's in those moments where feedback, especially harsh feedback, especially from your friends, can feel like
Hmm.
can hit the hardest, for
And
sure.
I will also say, like, and nobody probably realized that they were doing this, but all of this started over Memorial Weekend
Yeah.
when you and I and some other friends decided that we were going to take a weekend off
Yep.
and just go relax. And we made the mistake of looking at Facebook. And that's kind of where, like, and we
Yeah.
still had a great weekend, but
Yeah.
I want people to understand that when you are coming at a leader, they have their own lives too. They are not just this automaton in stasis mode until you activate them. So you might maybe, just an idea, if you want to talk to us about something, wait for business hours. I mean, obviously we are available all the time, especially
Yeah.
because of social media, but doesn't mean we have to be.
Yeah.
Just think about that. And like, so like, for as a leader, you may have to face this kind of stuff, so be prepared for it. But if you are one of the people that are like, I don't really want to be a leader, but I do want my opinion to be heard, that's great, no problem. But just think about how you deliver it, think about when you deliver it. And if you, especially if you've elected leaders, in the case of the Women of Michigan Action Network, it's kind of been people that have volunteered to just kind of do this stuff. So, but like if you want to get involved in leadership, say so.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at leaders for doing stuff that you don't like, and when you're not willing to step up and do that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also think and I think this is an issue with social media in general that, we have to deal with as a society. But I think that we have come to this place in our culture where every thought in our head needs to be shared, and there's very little filter about how harsh this is, how is this going to land, what language should I use, and we've lost some kinds of decorum, and we've also lost our sense of curiosity when it comes to decisions. So for me, right, getting feedback that is grounded in curiosity is so much better than getting feedback that's grounded in all sorts of assumptions that that you have not confirmed yet, right? So if you're somebody who's I don't like this thing that's going on and I'm interpreting it this way, one way to respond to that is to go jump into social media and be like blah 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 to basically publicly. And another way to do that is to be like, oh, this thing feels a little off to me. I'm super curious. Did they consider this, piece of the strategy? I'm curious about whether or not the folks who made this decision did it, knowing that, there's this idea that Democrats should move to the middle. And this feels like a departure from that. Being curious about the strategy and the impetus and the reason behind everything versus jumping right to your feedback, right? During a holiday weekend. That's hard. It's hard for us as leaders who are beat down to begin with to not respond defensively.
Yeah.
And if you're not being curious about our decisions and instead you're holding lots of assumptions about our decisions, using inflammatory language in a public way, of course we're going to respond, and that's going to amplify a debate that should not be a binary choice to begin with. It should not be.
Yeah, because we've held many protests of all different stripes, and this was the first one where we were going to have some drag queens. And it was not even like we were centering pride issues. We were just sort of adding another facet to the entire thing. So yeah, definitely think about your leaders. As a leader, be prepared because it's going to come.
Yeah, be prepared and stand in your values. That's all right. And be ready to stand in your values, because for me, there's no way to be insincere. I have to be authentic and sincere in these decisions, or else I can't, continue to hold this space.
If I have to quit pretending to be a different person with different values and different ideas about what I think the party should be, then I'm out.
That's right. Me too.
I'm just out.
Me too. And that's okay if there are other people willing to step in. I can easily just be a participant, and and always looking for folks to step in to support the work that we're doing. All right. Well, I know you have to run, and I don't know if you want to end with a fun question or not.
Oh, I don't have one today. I haven't had one the last couple times. You keep having to do them.
Let me think. Okay, I want to know, which started with talking about Cedar Point. I want to know, what is your favorite kind of ride and why? What is your favorite kind of ride in any type of amusement park, and why?
That's hard to say. I am a huge amusement park person. Love them so much. I love the ones with a story. I know we're not supposed to promote Harry Potter in any way, shape, or form, but I did love Universal Studios, the Harry Potter portion. It was fabulous. My kids grew up with that, so I really love the immersion. But just for the thrill of a ride, when you go to Cedar Point or one of these other places, just smooth ride, flip me all over the place, make my stomach do twists. Love it. I just love that stuff. It's relaxing to me. I was literally there on the Raptor, going up and just closing my eyes and waiting for the fall, and it was just so wonderful.
I don't know, something maybe about giving over your like control, right?
Yeah.
Like if you live in a space of control and you just lock into a ride like that, like you
Yeah.
literally can't control anything anymore. And maybe
Yeah.
that's something that can be
Mhm.
relaxing.
What
I don't
about
know,
you?
for me, I'm a water girl. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
water stuff. I love water slides and water rides and
Mhm.
wave pools and lazy rivers. Like
Uh-huh.
that's on a hot day, like
Yeah.
that's my jam. I'm kind of growing out of my like on the ground amusement park
Uh-huh.
phase of my life, just because it's like it's just more exhausting. But like give me a water park and a water ride
Mhm.
or a wave pool and I'm happy. So
I love the water rides where you don't know if you're going to get wet. You're probably going
yeah.
to. You're in a thing and it's going around and like every ride is different. Like you could get soaked or you could
Yep.
get nothing. I love the surprise of that.
Yep. And you like run onto the other side and try to
Yep.
avoid it. Yeah, totally. Totally. All right. Well, it's good to connect with you again. And we'll get this posted soon and get on a better, more regular schedule
Yeah.
of getting these podcasts out
We're
there. So,
trying everyone. Our kids are now out of school for the summer,
yep.
which could be good or bad. Who knows?
Maybe give us more time. Maybe give us way less time. Who
Yep.
knows? All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. See you later.
Bye bye.